Last week we got all of the SIPs up on the house, so the house is fully insulated and the entire shape of the house is there. We took a day or two to take care of loose ends, and one of those things was adding the decorative trusses to all of the gables, and it really made the house just so beautiful.
Well, it added a lot of detail to the outside of the gables and made it really kind of stand out as a timber frame house.
Our big task this week is getting the tin up on the house.
The 10-12 pitch is really hard to stand on, so we have these chicken strips up here, and they work really nice for walking up and down. And then we're going to have to remove these, put the tar paper up, and then as we do the tar paper, put more chicken strips so we can walk up the roof, and then from then on we got to put our roofing on. So definitely a very hard pitch to work off of 10-12. But when I'm done with this roof, any 412 you'll be able to run on. Got our SIPS panels on now, and so now it's a matter of putting this felt paper down. And you start in the bottom with your felt paper, run one up the valley, then you start from the bottom and you run layers as you go up, and you have an overlap. Put them in with these nails, and that holds the tar paper in place. And so you work your way up, and that way if water gets underneath the tin that we're going to put on after this, it has a place to go, and it runs down this tar paper and out, so it doesn't sit there and saturate your wood that's underneath this.
Now, we're big fans of Grace Ice and Water Shield, and we wish we could have just put a whole other layer up on top of the SIPs, but the problem is that it will trap moisture inside the SIPs and could potentially cause the SIPs to rot.
The manufacturer said you cannot put an impermeable membrane on top of the SIPs panels, and so next thing to do is tar paper, and basically you're just getting a surface in case the tin fails. The water has a place to escape out from underneath the tin.
We ended up putting 2 layers of tar paper up just for double security.
So the reasons we're working in sections, it's nice to not having to move the equipment around, and you can kind of work in one area, get it done, move on.
We used a Zoom boom, and one of our friends has this welded platform with railing around it, and basically just park that right underneath where the roof they're working on. And it's also really nice because it's a good place to work, so you're able to bring the tin up there and cut it and hand it up, and so the people prepping the piece of tin to have somewhere to keep their tools and to cut and work, and then just hand it up where it's fastened in place.
We used a standing seam roofing material, a couple different types, but this one it snaps in place. So to get started on the roof, the first thing to do is your eave flashing, which goes underneath your tar paper. So you have an eave flashing that goes on the bottom, then tar paper, and then once that's done, then you got to go ahead and put your valleys in. So if you have a valley, that's got to go in next. And then after that, then you can start putting your tin. And you work from usually a gable over from one side of the building to the other, and then these sheets come in 16-inch wide panels. You start your first panel, you want to be square with the eave on the bottom. That way when you run, your eave will always come out square. So if you have a discrepancy, you want to leave the out of square part on your gable. When you're working into your valleys, what you have is there's a tape that goes underneath. It's a little foam strip. It's basically a gasket that seals it off when you screw it down.
One of the big giant challenges with this project was just figuring out what piece of tin goes where. To save tin, the tin manufacturer actually cut each valley piece to length, to the longest point.
Yeah.
So you are going up a valley and you need a piece that's exactly 89 inches long, and then so you have to go dig through 6 giant pallets of tin to find one piece that's 89 inches long.
Probably one solid day to actually sort through all the panels.
But there wasn't a lot of waste, and I just don't like waste, so it's really happy to see we're done with this project. It's a surprisingly little amount of waste.
When you're done with getting all the tin down, the main tin, then you come back and you have what they call your gable flashing, which goes on the gables, and that basically ties in the gables with a nice strip edge. Also your end walls, so if you ever have an end wall, you have an end wall flashing, and then you have a side wall, you have a sidewall flashing, and all that flashing had to go in and be in place prior to actually siding the thing. In this building we added a full wrap fascia. What that does is basically even your gable, it's a piece of flashing that comes from underneath on the bottom of your tongue groove, which in your soffit, and it'll go up on the edge, and basically you have metal that covers the whole gable or the eave, any water that gets on your wooden soffits, or if they're painted or whatever, they can over time need to be resurfaced or repainted. Well, with the full wrap gable or the full wrap eaves, you don't have that issue.
It took us 2 whole weeks to put this roof on. We still actually have a little bit left to do, but hopefully we'll get that done in the next couple of days. We really had a sense of urgency because we were renting equipment and paying for it, and you know, rented equipment is your most expensive guy on the job, so you got to take advantage of it. So we worked a lot of weekends and just pushed through. Glad to have it done because the leaves are changing and winter is coming very, very soon. It's not already here.
I'm hoping to get this thing dried in because I'm going hunting. I gotta go back to work, so we'll see you next Friday.